The date is April 18th, 1942. World War II has been raging across the globe since 1939, and the United States has recently been brought into the war by the Pearl Harbor bombings. Japan has been claiming victory after victory in the Pacific as their swift methods of warfare has allowed them to conquer large amounts of land in a short amount of time. Desperate for a boost in American morale, President Franklin Roosevelt will order a direct strike on the mainland of Japan. 16 B-25 bombers will participate in a raid on the Japanese capital of Tokyo. This event will become known as the Doolittle Raid. On December 7, 1941, the United States naval base on the island of Oahu in Hawaii was attacked by hundreds of Japanese fighter planes. This attack was the result of many months of tension as the U.S. placed an oil embargo on Japan on July 26, 1941. This attack would result in the deaths of 2,400 Americans and the destruction of 20 American ships. This event would shock the United States, and the next day, the U.S. would declare war on the Empire of Japan. 3 days later, the other Axis powers of Italy and Germany then declared war on the United States. Immediately, the U.S. sought revenge for the Pearl Harbor attacks, but had little success as Japan would secure victory after victory as the U.S. was still mobilizing for war. To reclaim morale, President Roosevelt realized the U.S. needed a victory in some form, and thus tasked his military commanders to come up with a direct attack on Japan. They thus conceived a plan to deliver an aerial strike on the capital of Japan, Tokyo. Originally, the plan was for 16 B-25 bombers to take off of an aircraft carrier and drop their bombs on Tokyo, and then land back on the same carrier. However, landing a B-25 on a moving aircraft carrier proved to be very difficult, so instead the plan was changed for the bombers to land in an unoccupied Chinese city. Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle was put in charge of handling the Army aspect of the operation, which resulted in the raid being named after him. The B-25 bombers were modified to increase fuel capacity, and each bomber would fly at low altitudes with 2,000 pounds of highly explosive bombs. The pilots would be given extensive training in the Gulf of Mexico before being sent to San Francisco Bay, where they would be boarded on the USS Hornet along with a convoy of ships for protection. The ships would then rendezvous with the USS Enterprise, which would launch the bombers 400 miles off the coast of Japan. On the morning of April 18th, a small Japanese patrol ship was spotted by the USS Enterprise, which was promptly sunk, although the Enterprise did intercept a message warning of a U.S. presence in the area. Because of this, the bombers were forced to launch 820 miles from Japan to prevent a risk of the carriers being destroyed. Doolittle's group of bombers approached Tokyo from the north and engaged at a low altitude. They dropped their explosives and then flew past the outskirts of Tokyo without losing any aircraft. As they flew towards the Chinese coast, bad weather appeared, which gave up all visibility. With almost all fuel gone, Doolittle ordered his men to bail out of the bomber. All members of his crew survived, with only 3 of the 16 crews not making it to the Chinese territory. 2 crews were captured in Japanese territory, with 1 crew being forced to land in Russia, where they were interned and weren't released until the end of the war. 3 raiders would be executed by the Japanese, and 1 would die of dysentery. While the raid did little material damage, it greatly boosted Allied morale and led to the Japanese expanding their defensive perimeter. This then led to them planning to invade the Midway Islands, which would be intercepted by the United States Navy. What would happen next would be one of the most crucial battles in the Pacific theater, known as the Battle of Midway. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, as it took quite a bit to make. If you made it to the end, then please consider dropping a like, and if you enjoy content such as this, please consider subscribing to History Talks. Also, we have a new Instagram account called History Talks Productions. We post updates on the channel and new videos coming out. Check it out. Have a great day, guys. See ya.